Welcome to Tales of a Parentrepreneur, a podcast that tells the stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And if you're a business owner and a parent, I salute you, as they're two of the hardest things you can do, and you are doing both together. I'm your host, Jamie Reeves, aka Dr. Biz, and on today's episode, we have a guest that used to coach me because I wanted to know how to live like him. Something I probably shouldn't be saying, as I want to use this podcast as a lead magnet for my coaching. Anyway, John Lamerton, an author of 4 best-selling business books, including Big Ideas for Small Businesses and Evergreen Assets. He's run over more than 60 small businesses over 2 decades. A former 100-hour-a-week hustler, having kids was the light bulb moment in John's life, and he now works 20 to 25 hours a week, living what he calls an ambitious lifestyle business. So, in your finest West Country accent, Talk Like a Pirate subtitles are available. Please welcome John Lamerton. Sorry, John Lamerton Mind. So, John, how are we?
Geez, that is the best introduction I've ever had, Jamie. Thank you for that so much. What is it? The guy from Blackadder. Oh God, what was he called? He's got woman's legs. You have legs of a woman. Definitely, pirate meets farmer is the way you get the West Country accent.
Gloucester, so via Wigan, which is going to make for an interesting combination. So, how are we, John? How are you getting on?
Very, very well. I've been practicing Parentrepreneur. Is that right?
Parentrepreneur, yeah.
Parentrepreneur, right? Okay.
It takes I must admit, I've rehearsed it like I would be rehearsing a song. So it isn't the easiest of words to do, but it does describe.
Who chose it? That's the question.
Me.
There you go.
So yeah, the best ideas and all that. So let's jump straight into it. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being amazing, how do you feel today?
Ooh. Do you know, I'm going to say I'm an 8.
An 8.
I'm an 8 today. So,
why are you an 8 today?
Well, I love the 1 to 10 scale. Now, I've got a rule that if any time, for anything you're ranking 1 to 10, 7s are banned. Okay? Because what happens when you say, oh, rank it of 1 to 10, everyone goes, I'm all right, 7, pretty average. Okay, if you think, dear listener, 7, if you automatically answer that question with a 7, let me just ask you a second question. You can't have a 7. Is it a 6 or is it an 8? Because those are 2 very different things. So I'm not perfect right now. I'm a little bit cold. You notice I've got the big jumper on and the tough northerner is there with the guns out. But I'm not that bad either. So is it a 6 or is it an 8 today? It's an 8. I'm doing all right.
So if you think back to your 100-hour hustler days, and I'd ask you the same question.
I haven't got time to answer that question, Jamie. I've got far too many important things to be doing. Oh dear. 10, move on, next question. Next, hustle. Great. No, I would have answered 11 because I'm smashing it.
So, but obviously you've made massive changes from those years of your life to now. So what caused you to go from an 11 to an 8 then?
Honesty. So 11 would have been the Instagram answer. It would have been the highly polished, my life is perfect answer. And the 8 is, do you know what? I've got a little bit of pain in my hamstring. I'm getting on a bit. My fingers are a little bit tingly. I've not quite had enough coffee this morning. Things are going all right, but it's accepting and genuinely thinking what they're really like.
Yeah. So how did you get to kind of come to that thought where you want to spend more time with your family and less time with your business and kind of build this ambitious lifestyle business? What was the big turnaround point for you?
So yeah, the moment for me was, I said having kids, but it was just after having kids. So I was sat in an MOT garage with a 3-month-old baby at home, reading Alan Sugar's autobiography, What You See Is What You Get. Because I was emulating Lord Sugar. That was my pathway. I was going to be the next Amstrad. I was going to build the next Virgin. I was going big. I was going all in. I would have been in my kind of mid-20s, and I was targeting, I'm 46 now, by age 46 I should have had, I don't know, 100 million in the bank, something like that, a yacht in the harbour with a helicopter on the back of it, all that really arseholery stuff that I don't want anymore. That was what I wanted, until I'm sat in this MOT garage with a 3-month-old baby at home, reading How to Become a Billionaire, essentially, and I read this one line. And Lord Sugar said, I never really saw my kids much when they were young. And just in that moment, I went, oh shit. Yeah, that's not what I want. It's what I thought I wanted. But now it's like, no, what I want is I want to be there for that little boy. Because I absolutely adore him and I love spending time with him. Like, actually, do I want to be that entrepreneur who's doing the 100-hour weeks still and constantly, flying off to New York or up to London or whatever? It's like, I'm just not there. No, I want to be that dad who's at every assembly and every sports day. Jamie, were you, I think it might have been you, were you the person who in the 1% Club was questioned by their child's teacher about whether they had a job?
No.
Someone once came to me and said, I've achieved my life goals because my child's teacher asked me if I actually have a job, because I'm always there doing school drop-offs, school pickups. I'm there for assemblies. I'm there for sports days. I wanted to be that parent who just, when my child needed me, even to the point of just, Dad, can we play with Lego? No, he's 14 now. He does not want to play with Lego. He don't want to see his dad anymore. Dad, can you go away, please? Dad, can you leave the bedroom?
Not even Lego Fortnite.
No, not with me. Anyway. But that was the moment. Literally, it was. I came home that day after reading that line, and I remembered reading a similar line in Richard Branson's book. He said, I didn't really see much of Holly and Sam when they were little, and I just thought, this isn't what I want. So we changed the business model overnight. So I went from 100-hour weeks, and that would have been kind of December, and the following July, Jack went into nursery. So I was doing daddy daycare 2 days a week. I was doing nursery drop-offs. Suddenly, I only had 20 to 25 hours a week. So I kind of went, I've got to fit this in somehow.
So it was realising that the juice wasn't worth the squeeze then for you.
Yeah.
So going from 100-hour weeks to 25-hour weeks in the space of what must have been 6-7 months. How do you organise that? Because that's some big turnaround.
It is. And I think, so for those watching on video, there is a little book on my shelf, cover out, and it's called The 80-20 Principle by Richard Coach. And we've all heard of the 80-20 Principle. I bought that book when I had this bookshelf built. It was a lockdown thing. So I bought that book, having never read it, just to face cover out, to remind me that is how I made the transition. I ended up reading the book and making a ton of highlights. It's a fantastic read. You should read it. I thought I knew everything there is to know about the 80-20 Principle. That's about a 400-page book, and it's covered in highlights. But that process of, okay, I've gone from 100 hours a week to 20, so I'm reducing the amount of hours I've got. I'm reducing my capacity by 80%. So I'm just going to do the 20% of things that bring in 80% of the money. That was my thinking. So it won't surprise you, and I guarantee there'll be people listening to this now who are doing maybe not 100 hours a week, but maybe they're doing 60, 70 hours a week. And I guarantee those are not 60 or 70 of your most productive hours. I guarantee if I said to you, tomorrow you're going on holiday, how productive are you today? Do you sit there scrolling on Instagram? Do you just move your paperwork around the desk? Do you hit refresh on your inbox 20 times? Do you let your attention wander all over the place? Or do you just smash it out of the park today, close the laptop and say, I'm off on holiday now?
100%. You're there doing what needs to be done, and then when that time comes, bang. Because and that's pretty much for me. I schedule in everything first.
Yep.
So scheduling in my family stuff, scheduling in my gym stuff, the stuff that I want to do for me, then work comes a very poor third. But that's the way it should be, and that's what makes me more productive and helps me get more shit done.
Yep.
So that's probably my version of 80/20. Although I know about the 80/20 rule, I'm not sure whether I've read that book or not. So it probably means I should read it again.
Yeah.
But that's probably my version of the 80/20 rule. So from doing that, how did you get into coaching? What possessed you?
Cool. So it's a funny story there. So I mainly run a sports betting business. That was I think that's how we first met each other. I was doing the horse racing business. And I think 2015, 2016, we had an inquiry about someone actually buying the business. So Jason and I, my business partner, we said, well, we're not actively looking to sell, but let's go and see what they've got to say. So we travelled up to Newbury. We spent 3 hours in the car driving up, saying we've got no intention of actually selling the business. We're just going to find out, kick the tyres a little bit, see what's going on. We spent 2 hours in a room with someone who basically said, yeah, we can give you 2 million quid, like within about 3 months. So we then spent the drive home going, right, what car are you getting? Oh, I'm going to get a yacht now. Notice the yacht keeps coming up. I still haven't got a yacht. I have no desire to have a yacht. A dinghy. That would do. I prefer maybe a stand-up paddleboard or something like that. But there is a saying that a friend with a boat is better than having a boat.
That's true.
In so many ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, we drove back from Newbury thinking, great, let's spend this 2 million quid. A week later, I get a literal Dear John email. Hi, John. Really sorry. We don't actually feel confident that we know enough about the industry that we can get a pool of buyers together that we can do this. If you want to explore a sale yourself, you're more than welcome to. Jason and I went, we know nothing about preparing a business for sales, so we're not even going to bother. But one of the things they said, and one of the reasons it wasn't a nice, easy sell was, you guys, this business still relies on you guys a little bit. Okay? Whilst you've kind of removed yourself from a lot of the day-to-day, John, if you walk away from this business today, who's doing the marketing? Who's creating those Facebook ads? Who's putting that magazine together? Jason, if you walk away, who's answering the emails? Where's the accounting system for this? So we kind of realized, okay, we need to put in place systems and processes. I know it's boring. Everyone hears it,
My favourite saying, it's not boring to me.
Well, you see, you and I could just talk CMSs all day long, couldn't we?
Definitely.
But we realized, okay, we need to extract ourselves from this business a bit more. So we just set to work and said, all right, let's put some systems in place. A year later, I'm going on holiday. I think I did a road trip across France. I was out of the UK for like 4 weeks. Jason was going away for the next 3 weeks. We had one day in about 2 months where we were both in the country. So on this one day, we did a little handover. And I said to Jason, right, what fires do I need to put out? And he went, nothing really. I haven't been going around lighting them. So that's a good reason. I said, okay, what's going on at the moment? Oh, this process is happening. This campaign's running itself. Okay, how are the team getting on? Yeah, they're fine. They all know what they're doing. Oh, okay. I'll crack on then. Well, enjoy your holiday. And then I went, mate, we've done it. We've created this business that doesn't rely on us. We can actually step away for 2 months, and this business, all right, it doesn't thrive without us, but it also doesn't fall to pieces without us. So I'd been late 30s at the time, and I remember thinking, brilliant, I've made it. Let's head to the golf course. Let's sit pina coladas on the beach forever. We've created this business that we don't need to run. Fantastic. What the hell am I going to do with my days now?
So what, from creating that business that runs without you, how did that then impact family life?
That meant I could take a 4-week road trip around France with the family. So we could literally load the kids in the car, jump on a ferry, and just travel through France. We could give them the experiences they needed. both of my kids have got special educational needs. So every now and then their needs, as you know, and demands on me, flare up, and suddenly they can't cope with school. They really need a lot of help. They need a lot of TLC. We need to have a lot of conversations and, you know, arm around the shoulder time. The amount of time that I actually just abandon my business to go and sit on their bed and just talk to them and listen to them, because who the hell listens to kids enough? You know, most kids' dramas and fears and anxieties are because no one listens to them. No one actually understands them, and taking that time to just, sit on their bed and figure out what's going on. What's the problem? What's happening here? Is so impactful, but it's having the business to be able to do that, to still be able to pay the bills, to still bring in the revenue you need, to still scratch the itch of giving me purpose and a reason to have that fire in the belly, get out of bed in the morning and get shit done. But also, it's not the most important thing in my life. The most important thing in my life are those two kids and my wife. I should say that. She may listen to this.
It's a good idea. So I was once told that you could be a great business owner or a great dad, but you couldn't be both.
Not at the same time, I would say.
Yeah, I was going to say. So how do you? Obviously, you say the business runs well without you, but we all want a thriving business, right? We don't want it to just tick along and go there. So how do you manage the demands of both and still only work 25 hours a week? Because that's some going.
Yeah, I think it is being very deliberate. You mentioned planning just now, blocking stuff out, scheduling. Literally, not a week goes by that I don't have my weekly plan right in front of me. I've got a pile of blank ones here ready to go. So I know, and in Big Ideas for Small Businesses, I talked about the seesaw, the work-life balance seesaw. And people think that to get work-life balance, how do you balance on a seesaw? You kind of stand in the middle of it. Well, that's a lot of fun, isn't it? You know, literally stand on a seesaw and it doesn't move. Well, how much fun is that? No, the fun of a seesaw is going up and down and up and down. Mo Gordat talks about kind of the balance being a pendulum, swinging from one end to the other. And I love that analogy because I can now see that you've got a kind of spectrum, and you've got lifestyle at one end and you've got ambition at the other. And your ambition scale could go up to Elon Musk, Steve Jobs level, putting a dent in the universe. And your lifestyle scale could go to, I don't know, Garfield the cat. In fact, any cat, just wake up, feed me, rub my belly and let me sleep for the rest of the day, please.
Yeah.
For most people, it's a little bit of a shorter spectrum than that. But that pendulum needs to swing. So I kind of just notice, where am I spending a bit too much time? So I've been a bit too ambitious. Okay, when I'm there with my blank planner, let's swing it down the other end. So last weekend we had a 1% Club event. So I drove up to Bristol on Thursday evening, spent all day Friday in a hotel room, all day Saturday in a hotel room, drove back to Plymouth on Sunday. I arrived home to spend my weekend with the family at about 2:00 on Sunday, shattered. So when I'm planning this week, there's zero ambition on my plan. The pendulum is down at the other end. If I spend 3 weeks on holiday with the family, guess what I'm itching to do when I come back? I'm swinging that pendulum down the other end and I'm saying, right, I'm sorry, but you ain't going to see me for the next week because I'm now smashing that next book out. I'm getting the podcast done. I'm catching up on literally just catching up on my emails. I'm getting the work done. I've got to be all in on the ambition because that's what pays to be all in on the lifestyle.
So you talked a lot about business. You've talked a lot about family. What about self-care? What about you? What do you do to kind of help be the best business owner you can be and the best dad you can be?
Yeah.
And the best husband you could be. We need to mention the wife again, keep her happy. How do you keep it all together?
Cool. Well, of course, being the perfect husband just comes naturally to me. As Sarah
Bullshit
will.
alert! Bullshit alert!
But no, self-care is really, really important to me. Anyone who has read a physical copy of my first two books, either Big Ideas for Small Businesses or Routine Machine, will have seen a horrible, horrible picture, which is saved to my desktop as fatjohn.jpg. And it is me looking like I've been blown up like the Michelin Man. I've got a cigarette hanging out my mouth. I am a good 5 stone heavier than I am today. And yeah, sorting out my health was the next step on the journey. So once I reduced the 100-hour weeks in the business, suddenly I not only had time for family and for being there for those kids, but also still being there for those kids now and in 10 years' time and in 20 years' time and then grandkids. That became really important. So it's about time I sorted my health out. So that was probably a good 10 years ago now that I made health a priority. Again, if I look down at my plan for the week, what I'm seeing on here is a physio appointment and also blocked in doing my physio exercises every day. Mike will be very pleased to hear. When he said to me, he said, "Oh, I've got some exercises for you. You need to do this every day, this every 3 days." I said, "Mike, you've just given me a routine." I said, "Thank you. Thank you so much. You know how I work." But I've got go for a hike with the dog. I've got do HIIT workouts. These are scheduled in advance. Meditation time, mindfulness time, that is all scheduled in because that's important.
So what does meditation bring to you? Because I personally love meditation and kind of I had this conversation with myself earlier about preaching to people. Now, when you do what we do, you put your head above the parapet and people slag you off. Don't you preach to me about this and that and the other? And they're thinking, well, actually, I do need to preach to you about it because it's something I believe passionately in.
Yeah.
So if I believe in it and I want to help people, then I need to preach about it. So talk to me about what kind of meditation you do and how that helps you.
Cool. So my meditation practice is pretty much sitting in a sauna every evening, pretty much darkened room, very, very hot, complete silence, and just noticing those thoughts and allowing the thoughts to flow by, almost picturing clouds. In terms of mindfulness, I love a hike. That's something I've really got into. I used to be, when I got into the whole personal development thing, the idea of going for a walk with the dog and not having either an audiobook or a podcast in my ear, learning something while I walk, was completely antithesis. I didn't like it.
So what happens when two West Country boys try and use big words?
Exactly. Normal bloke from Plymouth. Yeah, words of 2 syllables or less, please. So yeah, that really, really didn't resonate with me. It really, really sort of jarred up against me. I can't do that. And then I think again that was Mo Goldat's book because I focused on why am I getting. So wind back. My biggest health concern about 2 years ago was stress. So my weight is under control. My blood glucose is looking good. My flexibility is good. I was happy with kind of resistance work. Everything was good. Sleep was fine. Hydration, great. Stress, yeah, get a bit angry every now and then. Get a bit, why is the world like this? So I did a lot of reading around just relaxing, enjoying life. So Mo Goldat's book, Solve for Happy, was one of the books. And yeah, he just talks in there about unplugging. And I'm walking the dog, listening to his audiobook, which, by the way, if you do that, it will make you cry at times. Or get something in your eyes, I should say.
Yeah.
So yeah, this idea of unplugging. So I went for a dog walk without any headphones in, and it was just so surreal. And now it's 3 times a week. I go out, I go up on the moors, and I leave the audiobooks alone. And you said something just now, Jamie. You said I was having a conversation with myself, and I said to myself this. Now that is what I spend an hour and a half doing 3 times a week, because that. What did I say just now about the kids? No one listens to the kids. Sit on the bed with the kid and listen to them. What's going on? What's in your mind? What are you thinking here? When, dear listener, did you last ask yourself what's going on here? How are you? How are you feeling? What's on your mind? What's going on inside your brain? Because those little conversations, you can play them out over the course of a nice long dog walk where you just go, okay, why do I always do that? Well, perhaps it is important to me. Why did I have that conversation? Perhaps I need to have another conversation. Oh, what about that problem I've got in the business? Okay, well, what are my options? I could do 1, 2, or 3. Three's not really an option, is it? Yeah. Okay. And you just literally talk to yourself. Please don't do it out loud. It does make people stare when you
Not
walk past them.
it would be considered as normal behaviour, especially if you've got a wig and kebab in your hand. So,
What do you do then? What's your mindfulness technique?
so I use meditation. My coach Paul Moore has got like a 15-minute guided meditation that I use.
Mhm.
I've used stuff with Joe Dispenza before. Really big into him.
Mm.
But I guess sometimes I'm just got that little bit too much on to spend 30 minutes sat listening to Dr. Joe,
Yeah.
as good as he is. And then sometimes he's going, imagine your neck in space, and I'm there thinking, oh, I'm trying to imagine that, but all I can think of is pigs in space from the Muppet Show. I'm there thinking,
Pigs in space. I still remember that.
and my neck's kind of gravitating in this kind of Star Wars kind of style,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but yeah, meditation. I always notice that I feel so much more calmer because,
Mm.
like yourself, sometimes I can get a little bit angry
Yeah.
and a little bit. I call it my little Jack Russell. And I'm there.
Nipping at your ankles, is he?
Yeah, yeah. But then I guess the good thing about age and experience is that I've noticed myself doing it,
Mm.
and that if I am in the wrong, I will apologise and try and explain why I was like that, and hopefully people forgive me. But by meditating, I noticed that I don't have as many of those Jack Russell moments, so I think that's really, really kind of important to kind of get to. So you've mentioned that you've done 4 books. How did those start to come about? What made you decide to be an author?
So the I used to blog back in the day, and my blog never really went anywhere. It was an industry blog in the affiliate marketing world, and it kind of never really went anywhere until 2011, I think 11, when I wrote a 3-part mammoth blog post about my first decade in affiliate marketing, because that was the point where I revealed just what a roller coaster it was. And again, for those listening on audio, I am making the roller coaster shake with my hands now, because people think that running a business is this nice, straight, linear path to success. You start here, you finish there, and it's A to Z, really easy. And actually, it ain't like that, is it?
No chance.
It is completely up and down. And I think, and again, dear listener, if you are listening to this and you've had any level of success, and to be fair, if you're married and you've got kids, you have had some level of success. You've convinced someone to do something. Then how did you get there? Did you, age 16, create a plan? Step 1, do this. Step 2, step 3, step 48. And did you follow that plan exactly as prescribed and everything worked out as you planned? I sincerely doubt it. And if you got there and you answered that 1 to 10 question with a 6, 7, no, not 7, 6, 8, or 10 above, you got here and things are okay, aren't they? So things won't go to plan, but that's okay, and you'll get there. So yeah, this idea that documenting the real highs and the real lows was so popular, so well received, that was kind of banked. And then one of my mentors said to me, kind of around about the time we were looking at exiting the sports betting business, you should write a book, John. And I just thought at the time, I don't want to write a book, because I'm not going to sell enough copies to make any money. And they kind of said, yeah, but think about it as a legacy. Just imagine like being able to hand over a printed book to your kids and say, these are my thoughts on life. This is everything you need to know. And then when we actually kind of did take what we now call a false exit from the business, and we realised, oh Christ, actually we've got all this time on our hands. What shall we do? We can't spend all our day on the golf course. It started off around my kitchen table. We just thought, well, let's help some people. Let's give back. Let's find some business owners who are me 15 years ago, and let's help them avoid some of the mistakes I made, because I went down so many dead ends, wrong turns, just threw money at stuff that didn't work, threw a lot, actually more than throwing money at stuff at things that didn't work. I threw my time and energy and hairline at stuff that didn't work. So if I can help those people avoid that, brilliant. Started around my kitchen table. I hand invited 6 people. 6 people around the kitchen table, great. 2 months later, that was 10 people. 2 months after that, we had a problem, because I've got 12 seats in my kitchen and we had 13 people turn up for a meeting. So literally one of them had to stand. So Jason and I had a little conversation. We said, look, we've just helped 12, 13 people this year. That's really, really good. We've really impacted these people. But how do we help 1,200 people or 12,000 people? And that was when it was like, well, how about that book? You could write that book. And I just thought, well, okay. Originally, we were going to do a podcast. We have got a podcast now. It's the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast. Sorry to leech listeners from you. There's enough room in the world for both of us.
Let's go and take a listen.
So we started originally this podcast, and that was what we were going to do. We said, right, we'll do the coaching around the kitchen table and we'll do some podcasting. So we went networking, Jason and I, in Plymouth in 2016. Hi, we're John and Jason. We're podcasters. And the response we got to that was, what's a podcast? Can I get that on my phone? I mean, that sounds laughable now, but seriously, in Plymouth, that was the attitude just a mere 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Was, what's a podcast? So kind of realised we weren't going to make it as podcasters in Plymouth, but we kept at it. And that's the whole thing about consistency. We've had a new episode every month for 6-7 years now. We're on 110 episodes in, and we just never stop. The thinking was we'd record a podcast episode, get it transcribed. Bosh, there's chapter 1 of the book. Talk about a different topic next week. Boom, there's chapter 2. Bish, bash, bosh. We've written a book. Yeah. Have you ever read a transcription of a conversation?
Well, this is the second podcast that I'm recording, and Riverside, the piece of tech that I use to record it, does it all via AI for you. So over the next few weeks, I will be reading lots of transcripts of conversations, and I doubt it looks anything like a book.
It looks nothing like a book. It was so hard just to edit the transcription. I thought a little bit of polishing up, remove some of the ums and ahs. Brilliant. No, Jason and I, we talked over each other. There's that what do we do? And you kind of, add these filler words midway into a sentence, and then you don't explain things properly and you contradict yourself, and it's just horrible to edit. I'd actually rather sit there with a blinking cursor than try and edit a transcription. But I was determined to get that book out, and I kind of did something I wish I hadn't, but I'm also glad I did, because if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't have got the book out. Around about January 2017, I said 13th of July 2017, my book is being released. I hadn't written a single word of it at that time, but I said, how hard can it be? X number of words per week, break it down, bit of editing, bit of polishing up, stick a cover on it, done. How hard can it be? Very is the answer.
So I'm interested, how did you kind of plan it then? Because the original plan of doing it from the podcast thing, I guess that was scrapped and that didn't work.
Yeah.
So it was back to the drawing board, and then putting that deadline on. We all know that deadlines get shit done.
Yeah.
So did you then get a book coach, or what was the process in writing that first book?
Cool. The process was not a process I advise anybody to follow. So the process I did was I opened a Google Doc and I kind of went, chapter 1, tappity tappity tap.
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 2, and I just tried to write it from scratch
Okay.
in order,
Yeah.
then realizing that this section that's, I don't know, chapter 14 doesn't really work here. That's really chapter 3. But hang on, in chapter 5 or chapter 19, I've referred back to 14, but I know that's in the future. And it's, do you remember that scene in Back to the Future 2 where Doc Brown is explaining the different timelines on the chalkboard? And you're like, hang on, where am I? Where's my hoverboard? Where's my self-tying laces? Um, yeah, so I was all over the place with it. I thought I'd finished. I just did a little bit of, well, we're just going to work harder. We're just going to work into the evenings. I'll do a couple of hours in the evening. I'll get up early before the kids are awake. I'll do some weekends. That's something I don't do a lot now. I'll work through weekends just to get it done.
Yeah.
And I set myself this goal, and I thought, right, okay. So I got to the end of, I think the end of April, and I'd finished the manuscript. Now I figured, send it over to a proofreader, get a cover designed, publish it. Brilliant. So I approached I was in a entrepreneurs group at the time, and everyone, as soon as I said, hey, I finished the first draft of my book, aren't I brilliant? Everybody said, you need to speak to Colette. So I thought, okay, I'll have a chat with Colette. Colette, everyone says I need to talk to you. Do you want to see my manuscript? Isn't it brilliant? Please shower me with praise. And Colette basically went, have you done this? Have you done that? You need to do this, 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 and this. Where's your ISBN number? Where's the contents list? You haven't done the acknowledgements. Where's the bibliography? What about this? Have you thought about formatting? What text size are you going to have? What platforms are you going to upload it in? Are you trying to translate it into this language? I'm like, oh yeah, that's quite a lot. She said, don't worry. This is what I do. I can handle all of this for you. And the good news is it only takes 12 weeks. I said, that's brilliant, Colette. There's just one small problem with that. I've booked a yacht club for 5 weeks' time. I've invited the press along, and the book is coming out in 5 weeks. And she went, okay. Now, Colette she calls herself the Gordon Ramsay of book coaching. She does not pull any punches. She refuses to let you serve things that are shit or raw.
Yeah.
So she kind of said to me, right, if you do everything I tell you to do, exactly as I tell you, when I tell you, and nothing, I mean nothing goes wrong, we might be able to hit that deadline. And we sort of hit the deadline. So on the 13th of July, I was stood on stage at a yacht club holding a technical copy of my book, which had arrived like 2 days before, like panic stations. I think it didn't have any page numbers in it. It had some placeholder text in it still. It didn't have the bibliography. And the one thing it didn't have in it was Colette's name anywhere, because she said, I refuse to be associated with this shit. If you're cutting any corners, I am having nothing to do with this. That was, and we made it very clear, this is the early pre-release edition just for press and kind of influencers. The real version is coming out in 2 weeks' time. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, we had the proper version that, as Colette said, you can actually put my name on that. You can be proud of that. It launched properly, having given it out 2 weeks earlier. So yeah, it was not a process I advised. When I stood on stage at the yacht club, one of the press guys said to me, so John, any plans to write a second book? Bearing in mind I've now written 4. And I said, I am never writing another book again, ever, because I hated writing this one. And it became that bloody book. Oh, I need to work on the bloody book. Oh, that bloody book's causing me headaches again. It's causing me sleepless nights. Now it's that lovely book, that wonderful book, the book that opened all the doors and made everything possible. But it wasn't very nice at the time.
So what were the life lessons then from that experience? What are the things that you kind of look back on that and go, yeah, because of that, I now do things in this way?
Yeah. Proper planning. So all of my books, so I'm planning. So I'm going to write my 5th book this year.
Yeah.
So I've already started writing the chapter page. I've written the skeleton of what is this book about? Who is it for? What is the natural order of things that I need to explain things in? Now, I have that in a Google Doc. That's about 3 pages of bullet notes. I then walk away and I let things percolate. So I know what the topic of my book is. So anytime I'm talking to someone, or I listen to a podcast, or I read something, or I learn something about this topic, I can go, right, that belongs in that section, probably before that paragraph, before I actually start writing it. Then when I start writing, I get momentum first. So I always say, like, the first week, I'm going to block out. Look at that, plan, schedule, block out, create the room. Sorry, family, I'm at the ambition end of the pendulum this week, and I'm going to get 30,000 words out. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through that skeleton and just vomit words on a page, not transcribing stuff or anything, just putting pretty shit content down. It doesn't need to be grammatically perfect. Anytime I get a bit of writer's block and get a bit stuck, I just go, need something better to go here, move on, and just get that momentum, get it out there, so that after a week, most of my books are 60, 70,000 words. I've written half of the first draft in a week. Then I slow the F down. I'm gonna, there may be kids listening, so I'm gonna say the F. Although my kids would be more likely to listen if I actually swore a bit more on the podcast. But I do just slow down then, because that first book, which was, right, I've got to get this out in July. So my last 2 books, the deadline has been a year. So it'll be, right, this book, Evergreen Assets, yeah, that's coming out in 2021. I think the False Exit, I said, yeah, summer 23. My next book will come out at some point in 2025. No pressure at all. As I wrote in Routine Machine, leveraging my Mr. Bull, how long does it take to fix the road? It will take as long as it will. Exactly. And that's the process, because that's the process that enables me to really, really enjoy writing books, to just be able to go, it ain't happening right now. I've got complete writer's block. I don't know what I'm saying about this. I'm just going to walk away. I'm going to go out on a hike. I'm going to talk to myself, or I'm going to sit in my sauna. That is where most of my notes come from. I either grab my phone in the sauna, hope it doesn't get too hot, and quickly type something out that's just come to me, or I send myself a brain toss while I'm out on a hike.
So one of the major things I got when I was being coached by you is I do what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with that? And is that still the major way that you're living your life?
Oh, absolutely. That's my criteria for everything. That came about working with a coach that we both know, Terry Gormley.
Yeah, who is also on the podcast as well.
Yeah. So I was at one of Terry's events years ago, and he set this exercise, and it was kind of, you had to picture yourself like in your dream lifestyle. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What emotions are you? Where are you in the world? What's going on? And you just had to kind of envisage yourself in this dream lifestyle. And then Terry said, okay, what needs to happen to get there? And he said, I want you to now write down kind of your ideal job description. And I started off with the word freedom. I was like, I want freedom. And I thought, actually, freedom from what? I said, well, actually, I want to be able to do what I want, when I want. I hate someone saying, literally, we outsource a lot of stuff to VAs. I refuse to let them anywhere near my calendar. When I want is so important to me. The fact that I can sit here with a blank weekly planner and I control this. This is what I want to do, when I want to do it. Where I want, well, I don't want to be flying off to New York. Can you pop into London for a meeting? No, thanks. If I want to come to London, brilliant. If I want to travel to Bristol for an event, great. But I don't want to commute. I don't want to be away from the kids. I love working from home. So where I want, how I want. Please don't tell me how you want me to do a certain thing, because I am very much, I'm a routine machine. I like to design the optimal way for me to do things. That's not necessarily the most effective way for the task to be done, but it's the way I love doing it. So what I want, where I want, when I want, how I want, and then that last one was if I want, because that's that last qualifier of, do I really want to do this? Another of the cover out books, if I move slightly to my left, is that little yellow one, not the kids' book, which is another story for another day. But behind that, we have Derek Sivers' book, Hell Yeah or No. And that if I want is that hell yeah. I had a opportunity come up recently to travel to London to appear on a fairly popular podcast. But it's going to mean an early start. It's going to mean travelling to London. It's a complete day where I'm just on a train to and from London, leaving early in the morning, getting back late at night, not getting anything else done. Really, really tiring. And I'm umming and ahhing. Do I do it? Oh, do I do it? Oh, I could do it. Yeah, well, there's a huge opportunity. And I just went, is it hell yeah? And I went, well, the fact that you're umming and ahhing means no, it's not hell yeah. So no. And it's just that criteria is either yes, I really want to do this, or it's a no, and that's my criteria now. And that final if I want just forces me to ask myself, have that conversation with myself again. Do you really want that?
Yeah, totally get that, and that's completely the reason why I work from home.
Yeah.
Is so that I'm not answerable to my staff. I'm not even answerable to my clients, because I'm in control of my time. And if you want me to help you and want me to serve you, then we work on Jamie time, or we don't.
Yeah.
Because technology now allows us to do that so easily.
Yeah.
The extra kind of yards we would get for doing this podcast in person, I believe, is very slight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be better because it's in person. But is it worth you travelling up 6 hours to Wigan, or me travelling 6 hours down to Plymouth?
Yeah.
And then travelling back, so that's 12 hours of travelling time, just to get that little 1-2% better.
Yeah.
When we all know good is good enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. There's no way I'm travelling up to Wigan.
Well, if you were Plymouth were playing at the DW Stadium and there was one of those,
well, it might be different then, yeah,
waiting for you, that's a different story, isn't it? So, what advice if I was a struggling parentrepreneur that is tied to the business and having those guilty feelings of not serving my family in the way that I believe I should, what would you advise? What changes would you try and get people to seek to make?
I think the first thing I would do is to get you to identify where the pain is. So what is causing you pain? What is really causing you the pain? Because is it the business? Is it the family? Is it the family's demands on you? Is it the business's demands on you? Where are you being pulled in two different directions? If you think about that lifestyle ambition pendulum again, where are you trying to take the pendulum in both directions, opposite directions at the same time? Because that isn't going to work. So it's figuring out, what tasks do you do? So think back over maybe, let's say, the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Think about some specific times in your life where you've got your Jack Russell has been nipping at your legs, and you've just got a little bit angry, and maybe you've shouted at your partner, or you've been a little bit short with the kids, or you've just grrred yourself at your email inbox when a client was a little bit demanding. And just think, okay, why did that happen? Well, that happened because of this. I was busy thinking about something else. This was also on my mind. Talk to yourself. Have a little word with yourself and figure out, over the last 2 weeks, what's caused your stress. What specific moments have you felt angst? Have you felt pain? And then okay, what's really causing that, and what can we remove? I talk in my latest book, The False Exit, about a moment I had with Jason where I absolutely threw my toys out the pram, and we were having what you would really class as a mild disagreement about one of our products. I think we should do A, Jason thinks we should do B, and we're having a little discussion, a tete-a-tete about this, until eventually he's not listening to me, I'm not listening to him, and I just stormed out and I can't do this anymore, slammed the door, and he's like, what happened there? And what happened there wasn't the conversation. It was the 25 plates I was trying to spin elsewhere. It was the multiple businesses that we ran. Before we started recording, you asked me how many businesses I'm involved in now. And I said so proudly, just 2. Because if you'd asked me before that moment in the kitchen when I blew up at Jason, it was about 7. And there's some joint ventures going on, and there's some property investment deals going on as well. Oh, and there's some crypto trading stuff going on. Oh, and I'm also chasing this ambitious goal. It's like, actually, the answer wasn't, what can I add? What new trick or hack or shortcut can I find? It was the same process I went through when I suddenly realized I've got a kid now and I can't spend 100 hours a week. It wasn't what new thing do I need? It was, what do I need to stop doing? What do I need to subtract from my life to give me space to say yes to those hell yeah things?
2024 should be about saying no to more things.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to see your happiness and your productivity go up and up and up and up and up.
Absolutely. Where are those points where, if you were to ask yourself the question, when you said yes to this, was it a hell yeah?
Yeah.
I guarantee you, probably for 80% of them, you'd say it wasn't a hell yeah. It was like, well, it was a nice opportunity. And it's those nice opportunities that kill you, isn't it?
With that in mind, I've got to do leg day today, and it's definitely not a hell yeah. So sometimes you just have to go against the grain and do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
So we're coming towards the end of the podcast, and I just want to ask you a couple of questions that I ask everybody. So I've not nicked this off any high performance podcast or anything like that.
My non-negotiables, is that this?
No, I call it the key 3 behaviours you would like to install into people. What are those 3 key behaviours?
Oh, okay. Self-discipline is number 1. That's the one that immediately comes to mind. You've worked with me. How many times have you heard me ranting about snowflakes? It's just, come on. I think I wrote again in Big Ideas that a superpower for any business owner is doing what you said you were going to do. So yeah, self-discipline, conscious thinking, conscious planning. So as we've talked about today, and as my favourite Ray Kroc saying, I plan my work, then work my plan. Oh, look, there's self-discipline coming into it, because I work my plan. I don't just do the planning. And the third one, I think subtracting. I think creating white space. When I look at my plan for this week, which I mentioned, I'd had a busy weekend. Can you see Tuesday there?
Yeah.
Big amount of white space.
That's interesting, because when I plan my week, one of the things that I'm quite proud of is there's blue everywhere. It's kind of planned in, and there isn't a lot of white. There's white space at the beginning of the day when I wake up, and there's white space at the end of the day when I've either finished work or finished being that unpaid Uber driver taking the kids to football. But there isn't white space in between those things.
Yeah. But it's deliberately planned in, and that's one of those things that, having realised over the last 2 years what causes stress, trying to fit 12 hours of work into 10 hours doesn't work, doesn't compute. The only way you do it is by doing half-assed work badly, or trying to multitask, or just stressing yourself out. So what I do now is I try and fit 8 hours of work into 10 hours.
Yeah.
Or less.
Makes sense. Makes total sense. What was the first record you ever bought?
Oh, God. Right. Okay. The first one I remember buying, and this is, well, I don't know if it is a cool answer now, it was Bad by Michael Jackson.
That's decent.
That's what I want to say it is. However, I also remember buying Kylie by Kylie Minogue.
Well, a young boy at that age, with the way that Kylie looked in that, you can't be forgiven. So, what's the most memorable place that you've ever visited?
Ooh, that's memorable. I want to say probably Vegas because that's nearly 20 years ago now that I went there, and it's just, yeah, stuck with me. I've not been inclined to go back or anything like that, but it is just the minute I say Vegas, I am just envisaging myself there. Maybe it's because it's so iconic.
Yeah. Did you have your picture by the sign
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
oh,
Obviously, we got back
classic.
by the Luxor. Went up the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. Ace. So you've mentioned books all the way through the show. So what are your top three recommendations for books?
Big Ideas to Small Businesses by John Lamerton. Routine
So
Machine by
not
John
your
Lamerton.
own.
Evergreen Assets by John. Oh, not my own. Oh, okay.
Yeah, on the next question, you can do all the plugging you want.
Cool.
What top three books that you haven't written?
Okay, well, I think we've got to really. Oh, there's so many, but let's look at what we talked about today. So, the 80-20 principle, Richard
Yeah.
Koch. As I said, that book is there because that's how I figured it out when I had kids. I knew it was the 80-20 rule that made all the difference. Hell yeah or no. Derek Sivers. It's a lovely short book. Each chapter is about a page or 2 pages long. Very, very succinct, very, very well written. And I'm tempted to say Poor Charlie's Almanac because we've just lost Charlie Munger and I'm very upset about that. But I'm going to go for my number one book. Any list I put out is The One Thing, Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, which I had the privilege of appearing on their podcast many, many years ago because that book changed my life when I had already had kids. And if I pull out my weekly plan again, there is a little red box at the top which says,
This
can you
week's
read
one.
that? This week's one thing. And my rule is that no matter what else happens that week, if I cross out my one thing because I've achieved it, I've beaten the week.
So, John, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to have you on the show. Where can people find you? Plug your books to your heart's content.
Fantastic. So, I mean, the best way is probably just to Google me, John Lamerton. You can find my books on Amazon. They're on Audible. They are narrated by me as well. So, if you do like that kind of, what was the guy from Justin Lee Collins? Was the old Bristolian guy, wasn't he? A little bit more farmer-like than that.
He
Um,
exited showbiz in a bit of a disgrace, though, so he probably isn't
yeah,
the best.
there's still plenty of time for me to do that, Jamie. Don't you worry. My ambition in life is to be cancelled. But yeah, Google me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to chat on LinkedIn. Yeah, you can find me on Amazon, on Audible, or yeah, just pop down to Plymouth and say, "Do you know John?" That works.
John, it's been a pleasure and a privilege, as I said. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we need to catch up again soon.
Definitely. Thank you, Jamie, and enjoy leg day. That's your one thing for today.
Thank you.